Here's my Alesis DM8 USB drum kit. Just received from Amazon. It comes in a surprisingly small box. Maybe 4 feet by 4 feet. Less than a foot deep. So I'm going to be taking it out of the package and filming some of it along the way. Took a peek down in the top, and the rack is pre-assembled, so that should save a lot of time. Looks like all the clamps are attached and everything, so I'll be filming along the way and posting this up for everybody to check out. Alright, here's everything taken out of the box. Here's the rack pre-assembled. I just lifted it out of there. You can see all the clamps are already on there, covered in little padding. All wing nuts to adjust everything. There are 2 separate poles in this long box here. I guess they attach right in here to make it the 4 full post, but looks like a lot of that is done for you, which is nice. These are all the individual component packages. Kick pads, toms, hi-hat, pedal. There's the brain. Cymbal arms, ride cymbals, crash cymbals, and one just labeled components. So maybe that's all the cables and everything, I'm not sure. But everything seems nicely packed so far. I'm going to start opening these up. So I've opened up the box called Components, and that has our cable snake in it. See, there's the connector there, and then all of the 1/4 inch inputs. Just looking in there quickly, it seems like there's a mix of tip, ring, sleeve, stereo plugs, as well as just regular mono plugs. So I guess that's maybe for some of the items that are dual zone triggers. It can send them over the 2 signals of the stereo cable. Like the ride is a dual zone, the snare is a dual zone. Also in there, we've got a little pair of drumsticks. There's no pedal included, which I knew of ahead of time. No bass drum pedal. But I've already pulled my old Pearl double pedal, and I plan on using that. Little bag with a drum key, some Velcro cable ties to keep all the cables neat, and looks like some kind of microfiber cloth to keep it clean, I guess. And then our instructions and warranty information. This is the assembly guide that I took out of that packet. It's not a large instruction book, it's basically just how to build it. I'm assuming the actual instructions might be in the box with the brain when I get that open, as far as all the programming and sound setup. So these instructions are just how to finish assembling the rack, how to make adjustments, how to assemble the hi-hat, how to mount the triggers, mount your bass drum, and things like that. Okay, so here's the rack. I finished the assembly. Most of it's already assembled. You're just really attaching these 2 outer posts, this one here and this post right here. You just slide them into the clamp. Initially the little tube wouldn't slide in because this plastic collar was slid too far back that way, so the metal post here was sticking into this column too far, so the pole wouldn't go up in. So I just had to move this plastic collar and slide it out a little bit, and then the tube inserted with no problem. So really you're just inserting those 2 tubes and then kind of getting everything else roughly in position, sliding all these clamps out, sliding out your L-rods, getting your cymbal mounts ready, tom mounts, cymbal mount, snare mount, hi-hat, and drum module. And I probably would recommend having a little level and using that on your different crossbars, because there are a lot of clamps and a lot of variables here, so probably good to make sure everything's nice and level. So now I'm going to start cracking into the pads and start putting those on. Here's the contents of the cymbal arm box. Our 3 little cymbal arms. These 2 seem to be the crashes. This one here has some extra felt on the top. I'm assuming this will be the hi-hat rod, since it's the one that's different than the other 2. So I'm going to get these mounted in the clamps. Alright, so I've just simply mounted the cymbal arms into the little clamps, the crash and the ride. Almost had one small issue. When I got around to mounting this one, there was no wing nut here. I did have a spare wing nut and washer that was laying in the bottom of the box. I thought maybe they were spares. But then I thought, well, maybe they're not spares because the little nut was missing too. So I looked around further in the bottom of the shipping box, and luckily the little nut was just tucked under one of the cardboard flaps in the bottom of the box. So got all my pieces back together. Nothing missing so far, which is great. And then here's the hi-hat mount. It's a little bit different. It's got some more foam. It's got a little notch in here. Not sure what this is for. Maybe to run the cord down through that notch. And I just picked up the rack and moved it to a different location. Still very light and easy to move at this point with nothing mounted on it. So now getting into some of the pads. Okay, I've mounted the 3 cymbal pads, hi-hat, ride, and 2 crashes. The one different mounting arm, that's definitely the hi-hat arm because it just sets on a flat surface, so it doesn't really move at all. But the 2 crashes, they sort of sit on like a little beveled piece, so you do get a little bit of the kind of real cymbal rocking action as opposed to just being mounted down and not moving like the hi-hat. Same with the ride. It kind of sits on a little pivot, so it'll give it a little real motion. And the crash cymbal does have the choke, and that is triggered. I guess there's a rubber kind of a rim underneath. I'm assuming when you grab that rubber rim, that's what is initiating the choke. And the ride cymbal. One of the main reasons I stepped up to this, the DM8, I was initially looking at some of the DM6s, DM7s for my first kit. I really did like that the DM8 had this big cymbal bell because I like the alternate between the ride and the bell, so that was one of the main selling points for me. I was really interested in that feature. Okay, cymbal pads are up. Now I'm going to start cracking open the snare and tom pads. Alright, so I've mounted all of our pads. Snare pad, I believe that's a 10-inch, and the 3 toms, 8-inch pads. Nice thick rubber surface on the top. I haven't hit them with anything yet, but feels definitely very nice and sturdy. More than like a little, Guitar Hero or Rock Band, little plastic drum set, obviously. And, easy assembly. The pad just simply slides onto the metal L rods. And then there's, of course, lots of wing nuts you can adjust to kind of get the right angle and location that you want. You can slide the pads in or out, tilt them up, tilt them down, rotate them this way, rotate them that way. So it should be pretty flexible. The snare is mounted on its own arm, so the whole arm here can be moved up and down, swung left and right. Should really make pretty easy to get the snare into the proper position. And it's on an L pad, or an L bracket also, so it can be slid up or down, tilted forward or back. So I think it should be pretty easy to get the snare in the right spot. Also took out the bass drum pad while I was doing that. It comes in 2 pieces, the actual front portion with the pad on it, and then this metal bracket on the back. It kind of screws into it. And it's nice it all connects with these little bolts that are for a drum key, so I don't have to carry extra tools to do that. These 4 little bolts here you screw in to assemble that together. And it is all sturdy metal, which is good. Obviously the little back of the pad itself is plastic, but all the bracket mounting here, all this piece in the back is all pretty sturdy metal, so I was concerned about the pad falling apart with some double bass action, but I think it looks pretty sturdy. And there's 2 spikes here you can screw down in to screw it down into your carpet to keep it from walking away. Haven't tried it yet, obviously, so I don't know if that's going to be an issue. Hopefully it stays put. It'd be nice if there was some way to mount this to the rack. Then I think that would probably keep it sturdy. Like if there was a bar from here to here and over here to here, that would probably be helpful. Although it might make the whole rack slide, who knows. Also took the hi-hat pedal out of the package. Nothing to assemble there, it just comes out and it's ready to go. It's got the spikes on it for the carpet. There's the trigger input. Spring underneath. And it's all metal, as far as I can tell. It feels pretty sturdy. Yeah, so now I'm going to, I guess, break open the module. Get that mounted. It'll go on this clamp right here. There's no poles that I've seen yet, but I'm sure there's one in the box. It's a little bracket that'll actually mount the module. And then I'll be running some cables. I'll be back.